Hey guys, welcome to another Formula V track guide, this time at Summit Point Raceway. The track here is quite similar in terms of characteristics to Lime Rock, so there's not actually many corners that we really need to run through, as most of them are flat out, but the corners where you can actually make some difference make a lot of difference to your actual lap time as they lead on to quite big straights. So the first part of the lap, obviously just a long run down to T1. On this lap, I do move side to side a little bit. I think I was looking at something, so don't pay attention to that. Just drive nice and straight down so you're not scrubbing any speed. Now, the cones on the left are a really good reference point for your braking. So I normally brake between the first two, sort of try and aim for the middle. You can brake a little later, you can brake a little earlier. Your actual braking isn't the big lap time gain through this corner. It's just important to get the speed off early so you can get good control through the corner and pick up the throttle early. Obviously the later you can brake the better, and I think the smack bang in between these two cones is a good compromise. If you try and brake a little later, it's going to affect your consistency because the chances of you making it every single lap are quite low. So nice and hard on the brakes. A late downshift just so you can keep the car nice and stable. Normally on other tracks I like to go for quite early downshifts and get some rotation, but that's not important here because you're going to be taking a lot of speed off. Make sure you stay all the way out to the left, sort of on the strip between the exit road here and the actual tarmac. And you want to get as close on the inside as you can to the curb here without touching it. If you hit the curb, it'll push you out, which won't be good for getting on the throttle. And you can see, actually, before we get to the apex, we're starting to pick up the throttle nice and hard, and you should be on full throttle by the time you're at the apex. And at this point, you can actually already start blending some steering off. Now, a lot of people, they'll stay quite tight through this corner, and initially that will help your lap time. On the delta, you'll see as you come out, it will go up or down depending which way you phrase it. It will go more into the green, but the problem is if you stay tight you scrub speed, so actually through the whole sort of second phase of the straight you're going to lose time. And as this is flat out now all the way down to the hairpin, it's better to lose a little bit of lap time here by opening the track, running out and not building the speed up than it is to stay tight. You'll see here now we can just go nice and straight the whole way up. Make sure you just cut the track distance, so get up against the white line here. This next corner, easy flat out, so what you want to focus on is actually just not scrubbing speed. So open the track up as much as you can, see here right out to the white line, and turn in nice and smoothly. You'll see down here on the left with the inputs, trying to be as smooth as possible the whole way through the corner. You can use a little bit of curb here. You don't want to use too much, otherwise it will sort of just upset the car. It won't, you're not going to spin or anything, but it will just sort of put some slide in the car and scrub speed, so you want to just nibble it but not take too much to kill some speed. And then you can use all this track on the exit and actually a bit of the gravel. So you'll see at this point we can actually straighten the wheel up completely, and as long as you stay the center line of the car, so this black strip here to the left hand side of this mark where the gravel starts and the curb ends, it's not a 1x. So Iracing gravel's a bit weird. It doesn't actually slow the car down, so you might as well treat it like tarmac. So you'll see here we can just cut a bit of distance, and again, not making a massive difference, but on tracks like this where slipstreaming is what it's all about, it's important. You can then run nice and straight here, just use this extra road on the white line, just keeping the car dead straight. Any steering input's just going to make the car take a bit longer to build speed up, so just keep it nice and straight the whole way through here. Smooth turn in, again get right up against the curb just to cut distance, but you don't want to be up on it, that'll upset the car. This corner, it's quite tricky. There's actually a big bump on the right hand side here where these few little gravel marks are, so you want to be to the right hand side of the track, but you don't actually want to be all the way out like we normally do going on the white line, because it's really easy to snatch a front. You can go backwards a click or two with the brake bias here to stop you snatching the front tyre, but I find when you actually get into the middle of the corner it affects the rotation. You get too much and it actually makes it really hard to manage, so it's kind of pick your poison with this one. You can go backwards with the brake bias and it makes this first part easier but the second part harder, or you can go standard or a bit forward, which will make the first initial hit harder but the actual corner itself a lot easier. So all the way out to the right, nice and hard on the brakes, but hold the pressure as you start to turn in for the corner. Because of the nature of this corner, you actually want to start turning quite early. You don't want to do a big sweeping arc, so making the track shorter. So you'll see we're actually now pointing at the middle of the road, and already at this point we do a nice sharp turn once you get to the white lines. aim for the curb, again, cutting distance, and actually if you get up on the curb here, it tends to keep the car more stable. I think just with the way the camber of the track is, it helps just keep the car more neutral. If you miss the curb a bit, sometimes you can lose the back end and end up spinning out here, especially on the first lap on cold tyres. Let's get right up on the curb, keep it to the middle of the road. You don't need to run out here because you'll just be making the track longer, and we're straight into another corner, so getting any extra speed out of this corner really isn't important. And then that means you can keep it nice and far to the left, right on this white line. Little dab of the brakes and off the throttle to get some rotation. Just using that little dab to get the weight on the nose, pull the front in so we can get nice and low for the apex here. And a bit like turn 1, this corner, you don't really want to get up on the curb. You can nibble it very slightly, but any more than this and it will start to push the car out. And as we get to the apex, we can already pick up full throttle. Again, like turn 1, you can gain a bit early on the straight by staying tight here, and it will look good on the delta initially, but you're going to scrub a bit more speed and that will cost you the whole way to the finish line. So we can run all the way out here, and this curb's actually quite banked, so you'll think you're going off the track, but actually when you get up onto this curb, it'll pull you with a bit more grip down back into the track. So you can see through this corner at the apex with full throttle, and we can hold that all the way now. And those couple of k's an hour, like I say, these will gain you all the way down to the finish line. So 100th out of the corner can be a 10th at the last corner. Then this section, again, just not scrubbing speed, really smooth with the steering. Don't touch the curbs, just get against the white lines, make the track shorter. This corner, turn in nice and early so you can get in at the curb, and then just let the car run out, so all the way out to the exit curb. And then once you come over the crest here, you can actually aim the car quite straight for the last corner, again, just cutting distance. So I like to use the white lines as a bit of a reference, left tyres just to the side of them. And then that'll actually mean at this point you line yourself up quite nicely for your turn-in point without needing to make any adjustments. And like I say, just keeping the car straight and the fact you're cutting some distance will make a big difference to your lap time. Last corner, you can do it flat if you get the line perfect, but it's very difficult to get every time. So I find from a consistency standpoint, just to make sure you get good laps, it's better to do a little lift. It really doesn't cost you much time, maybe 100th or 2, but it makes it a lot easier to do the same thing every lap. If you try and do it flat every lap, you'll probably get it right 1 every 4 or 5. So it's better to do it this way, I think. Over a race, it's going to gain you, it's going to lose you less time than trying to do it flat and losing 100th doing it this way. So all the way out to the white line, just a little lift. Half throttle is a really good reference for this. So you'll see we just go to half throttle, hold it while the car turns in, and then once the noses come in and we know we're on the right line, we can pick the throttle up straight away. Again, don't want to touch the curb because it will just sort of push the car out to the left. So right up against it, but don't hit it. And then at this point, again, we can start blending the steering off all the way out to the gravel. What a lot of people do at this point, they'll get to the gravel and then sort of panic to get back on the track. Don't need to, just let the car go straight at this point. You can stay right up against the grass the whole time. Again, just cut distance and then just drive cleanly to the line. So like I said, there's not really a lot of corners in this track that can make a difference, but the ones that are there can make quite a big difference. In quali, it's not too important. This track's a real draft track, so you can qualify first, you can qualify 5th, 6th, depending on how the race plays out. It really doesn't make a lot of difference. The main thing here is actually when you're in the tow, you want to be getting those good exits so you can make overtakes or at least stay with the train, depending on your pace. So if anyone has any questions, I'm quite happy to run through the best way to play out your race strategically in terms of getting the best position. This is one of those tracks where it's better to work in packs than just try and get an overtake at every opportunity you can possible, because if you lose the draft, you're not going to catch the next group. But yeah, I hope that was helpful, and planning to do one of these every week for V, and I'm going to start doing F4, F3, and any other cars that people request. I'm happy to do a track guide for. So if that's the sort of thing that would interest you, just feel free to subscribe below. Cheers.